We totally need to get, the DRS theme done in banjo.
Oh, God, no. Hells no.
Then we could be hillbilly DRS.
Hillbilly DRS. Yeah, because we're not white trash enough as it is. God. There's lowbrow and then there's jugbrow.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 547. Paul E. Cooley on the other side of the thing. See, I'm doing it backwards this time just because I say the same things every time. Paul E. Cooley is right over there, and I am Terry Mixon hosting this show.
And what show is it?
Do I have to get the title up front? When fans own the content. That's the title of this show. We're going to do this totally backwards.
Just confuse everybody?
Yes, because if you don't break it up every once in a while, you sound like you're just giving it by rote.
Okay, so let's see. That means you have to tell us what you've been up to.
I have not written for the last week. I am still where I was last week with maybe two chapters left. I'm at 95,000 words on Blood of Patriots. I've got the ending mapped out in my mind. It'll be done in 2 chapters. Then I've got a couple of short stories to write for anthologies that are due the 1st of July. And then I can start writing on book 11 of The Empire of Bones, which I've decided to title Ruin Terra.
Your 11th book? I didn't know you could count that high. I'm impressed.
I had to go ahead and use one of my fingers and take off my shoes, but I made it happen.
I'm amazed.
It's an amazing thing. We'll see whether or not it actually stays that, but I figure it's a good title to start with. It came to me last night while I'm half asleep, so I managed to barely wake up enough to write it down. And it still made sense in the morning, so I think I'll run with it.
All right, good plan. Well, in case y'all couldn't tell, I'm losing my voice because I came back from Balticon with Concrud.
I think that really you can lay this right at the feet of Spooning with Scott Roche.
And Pondy. Don't forget Pondy.
Yeah. So that's a bed full of love right there.
I don't think there's a bed big enough to hold that action, to be honest. Be like 3 blue whales trying to roll across the Tempur-Pedic. Not gonna work. Not gonna work. Anyway, had a blast at Balticon, came back sick as hell, and I think I slayed another deadline today, and I have 2 more to meet this weekend. So I'm a little busy, frenetic, and trying not to fall down from exhaustion. Yay.
And we're gonna have to restrict your travel because every time you leave town, you get sick.
I know.
And every time you leave town, it floods while you're gone or right when you get back. So what's up with that?
Do that in Baltimore. It did not do that here.
It rained like a mother yesterday.
Oh. No, it did not up here.
Oh, down here it did.
Well, not my fault. Don't blame it on me. I've been back from Baltimore for days.
Well, what is life if I can't blame everything on you?
I don't know. Reality?
I refuse to listen to reality. I blame everything on Paul E. Cooley.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I got my 2nd Parsec award showed up.
Oh, sure. Just go ahead and leave that bombshell to the end.
Yes.
That's something you lead with. I won another Parsec.
Well, we announced that a long time ago. Since the trophy finally got here. I have a picture to go along with it. It's all nice and stuff. Ooh. It's all special.
One of the other things that I did is I applied to be a guest professional at Dragon Con this year. We will see if anything actually comes of that.
Ooh.
If it does, I'll go. Even though the wife will probably not like an 80,000 person crowd.
I think it's more than 80,000.
Looking at their website, it said 80,000. So I don't know.
It's a lot more than 80,000. I think if the fire marshal, if Atlanta clamped down, I'm pretty sure those cons would be way constrained because I guarantee you there's more than 80 grand at any one time. I guarantee it. So yeah, those numbers are bullshit. But yeah, that would be fun.
I went back in 2010. So it's been almost a decade since I've been there. I had a hoot the last time. I didn't take the wife with me. I just went by myself. Justin and his brother Scott went with me, and we shared a room, which, there's a whole lot of love in that room too.
Yeah.
So before we get all tied up and wandering around everywhere, Everyone
Again?
should know that Game of Thrones, the end of Game of Thrones, the final season, is what sparked this particular show.
That and some comments and emails.
And that, well, it's a lot of tempers were raised by Game of Thrones. We'll just put it that way. And so that sparked the question of when do fans own the content, how much they own it, what call they actually have on it. So let's dive into that right now, Paul, and discuss that with your voice magically healing itself as we go.
It will be awesome. You actually wanted to talk about something?
Sure. Game of Thrones.
Oh my God.
Sort of. I don't watch Game of Thrones.
You do realize, before you get started, we have had several requests to dissect bad endings because of GOT.
I didn't know that it was because of GOT, but
let's put it this way. The last 4 that I've gotten have all mentioned GOT.
Wow. What I want to talk about is ownership of creative works.
Oh, no.
Because you know that they started a petition asking HBO to redo season 8, right?
Yes. Entitled motherfuckers. Holy cow.
Which I totally agree. It's not going to happen. It's sometimes you just got to accept you got a turd in the punch bowl. It's not going to happen. And you as fans just can't demand that a creator do over. But on the flip side of the coin, the fans do share something with the creator in making the work what it is. And I want to talk about that line and where it is and going back and forth across it.
Okay.
One of the actors on the show that played I think it was the Grey Worm. I'm not familiar with it. I just read the article and made a quote of it there. He was talking about the folks that were demanding that it go back and forth. And he said that the creator owns the property. And that's the end of the matter. You don't get to say anything else. You don't get to have any kind of creative control over what's going on. You just have to take it. And that's all paraphrased, of course. And I disagree with that. You're not entitled to demand a do-over, but the creator suffers the consequences when they do something that a majority of the fans dislike. Yeah. And so as creators, while we don't owe it to the fans to write the ending that they want, we owe it to the fans to write the ending that they and the work deserve.
Yes, and even then they'll bitch.
Well, you can't please everybody, but it certainly sounds as if in Game of Thrones, they've managed to find a majority of people dissatisfied with the last season or two. And that dovetails very nicely with the point where they ended having George R.R. Martin's books to draw on.
Yeah, I saw that part of that petition and everything else that was going on there was aimed directly at the writers, saying basically that the moment they had to go off script, they had no idea what to do.
There's an element of truth to that, I suspect.
Probably. And I think the waters got so muddied on that between. I hope Martin can break through it and find the way to end that series the way it deserves in the books. But yeah, I think that's kind of a dangerous animal. Look what Disney's doing with Star Wars.
Yeah, they're bringing in the people that screwed up Game of Thrones to go ahead and do Star Wars. How perfect is that?
I was talking about the new crop of movies.
That's what I'm talking about as well.
Yeah, great.
You didn't know that. You didn't know that.
I remember hearing something about it, and considering I just don't give a shit about Star Wars, it didn't really imprint
Don't worry.
on my brain.
They're going to have 2 fabulous movies and screw up the 3rd.
Oh, they could be George Lucas, totally screw up the first 2, or excuse me, 1 and 3, and make a perfect second movie.
Is that the way you see this?
That's the way I see it.
Oh, I suspect some fans may disagree with you.
Oh yeah, I'm an Empire Strikes Back guy. That's the only film that I remember fondly that I can still watch without going, oh.
I kind of like the first one.
Bad.
I liked the first one, and I thought Empire Strikes Back was pretty good too.
I liked all of them as a kid, except for I felt really like Return of the Jedi was just kind of it just didn't do what I wanted it to do. And a few years later, I was like, you know what? The big part of it is the fucking teddy bears.
Yeah, the Ewoks.
If those
Yeah,
had been
that's the Jar
Wookiees,
Jar Binks of the first
if
time around.
those had been Wookiees, just think of how badass that movie would have been.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Which I believe was what they were originally intended to be before they figured out it'd be too expensive.
So what you're saying is it would be too expensive to have Wookiees, so they hired short Wookiees.
I don't know. I don't know how many of those extras were Muppets. I mean, who the hell knows?
I I don't know.
I know what you're saying,
but I suspect they were all small people. But that's not where I was going with that. I was making a crack on sawed off Wookiees is where I was going.
Wookiees.
That's where I was going.
Okay, well, it just
it's a cost saving measure.
It's not having control of the content can be can be very frustrating for audience members. I had somebody say, "Why didn't you have them do this in the black?" I was like, "Oh, if I had done that, that would have made a whole lot of sense. But you know what? It would have made my life harder. Fuck that. They did it the way they did."
There's a saying that I've heard from any number of people that teach, talk about advanced writer techniques. And that is that someone reading your work, if enough people them say something, can point out where you've done something wrong, and they'll be right. But if they point out how to fix it, they're almost invariably wrong. And it's true. The problem is you can decide what you don't like. And if enough people don't like something, then obviously the creator did something that did not fit the taste of the audience that they were aiming for. But the place where the writer went off track is invariably before the events that torqued off the readers, the watchers saw it and became annoyed.
Probably.
They made a misstep somewhere in advance of that. And one of the articles that I read talking about Game of Thrones is that the way George R.R. Martin wrote the books that he's written up to this point, and is that the story isn't an individualistic story. It's a sociological. It's a sociological story.
Well, yes, that too.
And I did not know what that meant when I started reading the article. And what that is where all the individuals in this story are being shaped by the society and the events of which they're in. Nobody is black and white, good and or evil. They are shaped by the society and the events and the incentives and the negative things that happen to them. And it's a very Brownian sort of thing with the movement taking place. Everybody is always in motion with that. And that's what George R. R. Martin did. And that is genius. I was not a fan of the first book of the series, but I can still see what a major story that was and how the events that occurred influenced what came later for those characters, how it shaped them, and how their trajectories were continually being altered by what was going on and what was influencing them. When the showrunners took over for the last two seasons, they converted the series into an individualistic tale where you have to have a hero and you have to have a villain. And that, in my mind, that's where the article, it was a USA Times article, opinion piece. And that's where they think he went wrong. And on reflection, I think that's true. I think that by changing the style of story, even leaving aside the mistakes that the writers made when they did it, that they changed what the viewer was getting. And that never ends well, because by season 6, you've locked in the people that love that kind of story. So when you change the entire premise that everything's made upon, it makes the characters feel wrong.
Okay, I could see that. When you're writing something as long as, say, Empire of Bones or Derelict Saga or The Black, whatever, where you have a couple of characters that are constants through every book. If they don't show any kind of change at all, then it's not a saga. It is an episodic book that's supposed to be fun.
It's a Clive Cussler novel.
It's a Clive Cussler novel, right? It's a David Wood novel. It is a book where you've got
James Bond.
It's James Bond, exactly. The characters are the characters. That is who they are. That is how it works. MacGyver, same way. They don't have these massive dramatic moments that reshape them forever through their characters, because the characters are in a lot of ways too iconic to that series. So there are certain things you can't do with them unless you're totally and radically going to change what the series is and what the books are about. I just don't see how you can do it and make it work and not really, really, really tick off your audience.
It's true. And Empire of Bones is still an individualistic storytelling sequence. I have good guys. I have bad guys.
Yeah.
I don't try to tell a grand sweeping story like Game of Thrones did. That's not the kind of thing that I enjoyed growing up. And there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just not what bites for me. And I write the stories that appeal to me, just like every other creator creates something that appeals to them. But when you create something, whether you're a writer, whether you're a showrunner for a television series, while you may own and be the one in control of what happens to everything that you're creating, if you don't take into account how the fans are going to receive it, you're going to become a barista at Starbucks.
Oh boy. There is a certain level of that, I guess. Yeah.
I'm pushing this to the extreme, and I know I am, but that's,
yeah, you are. You are.
That's how I roll.
You are. We've seen this with some other series and everything where they changed something and then the audience just went bye-bye. Maybe it was because a major actor left and they killed off that character, which was everybody's favorite. In the books, maybe something goes sideways, and for some reason, the writer decided to kill off that character that you love so much and not make any of the other characters likable enough for you to continue on with the series after that. Things like that happen, and they lose the audience. Does the writer have a right to do it? Abso-freaking-lutely. Because of the ones creating the story. But there is a little bit of, you do have to kind of prepare yourself for a shitstorm. And I think if you're cognizant of what people are going to be pissed about, then the real question is, why are you, it maybe is whether or not this is the road you really intend to go down. I don't know.
Television wise, there was a televised series for Lethal Weapon that was on for a while, very popular. And then the actor that played one of the main characters did something and got himself fired from the show.
Yeah.
And the show quickly died. The actor was key to what that story was. It could not survive the change. Looking at Game of Thrones, obviously, the run is over. HBO is not going to redo season 8.
It is never going to get redone.
It is what it is. The creators have created what they created. George Martin is now going to go ahead and have the luxury, to sit there and say, yep, now I'll show you how it should have been. And he will laugh all the way to the bank as he finishes the books in that series. He will probably get it to the same end point since he told them where the story was going to end. But the journey is going to be different. The journey is going to be rich, and it's going to be full of the things that the people that liked that show missed in those last 2 seasons, because he's going to continue telling the story the same way that he started, rather than changing midstream.
I've seen the accusations that he's been holding back the last 2 books, that they're finished, that his publisher's just holding back until HBO finishes their train wreck. And then his 2 books will come out just to open up in time for the the sidequel series that they're launching, or whatever they're called.
I suppose that's possible.
The standalones.
He hasn't called me to fill me in on any of the details of that.
His response though was beautiful, which was, "That's ridiculous. I have 800 million people reading this, or whatever the hell it is, something ridiculous. I could make a lot more money if we pressed go tomorrow." And guess what? Not everybody has HBO.
I bet a lot fewer people have HBO today than last week.
Yeah. I imagine there was a lot of rage quitting going on. There's a lot of rage quitting going on right now. Yeah.
HBO
it's sad. It really is sad.
Honey Badger don't care.
Honey Badger don't care. I like it when, even shows I don't watch, I like it when the fans are out there going, wow, this was amazing, blah, 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 perfect ending. I haven't heard that in a long time.
It's kind of a side thought, but far too many shows go, let's be good enough. Let's not try to knock it out of the park. Let's just be good enough.
I thought the ending for the series, The Shield, was very satisfying. Everybody's bullshit finally caught up with them. And you knew it was
Karma's a bitch.
Karma is indeed a bitch. And basically, everything this character did to try and make sure that all these horrible things didn't happen and that his family was going to be secure, all the horrible things he did destroyed everything, took away everything. And for that show, that was the perfect ending to it. Justified the way it ended, made a lot of sense. It ended perfectly. I loved it.
Breaking Bad.
Yes, the one of the most epic endings of all time.
I've seen, that's actually one of the shows that I watched, and the ending was indeed epic
and very satisfying.
It was,
because the character had an epiphany, realized the hubris had destroyed everything, and sought to put as much right as he could. And it's not about forgiveness. It's not saying, oh, he was a good guy in the end. No. Don't give him that.
Not everyone is the hero of the story.
No, do not give him that. Give him this. He was the villain. He tried to make it right, but he was still the villain.
He was the villain, and he turned on the other villains.
Yeah, and then of course, Jesse figured it out a long time before he did, just how fucked up shit was, or what they got into. Anyway, that was those are the perfect endings I can think of.
Why can't we have Dave Robertson be, like the professor in Breaking Bad? Because I can see that.
Yeah, I could see that too.
What are you doing in your garage, Dave? What are you doing?
Stop it. Is there another series you can think of that ended good? Ended well? Ended good? Ended well?
I hadn't thought about that. So, another one that had a good run, if you chop off maybe the last hour of the final episode, was the Battlestar Galactica remake.
Yes.
When they get to Earth, stop. That's all you need to know. Don't go any further. You'll be happier.
I didn't think the end was that last hour. I watched it. I knew I shouldn't have. I watched it anyway, and I went, okay, all right, fine. So why was everybody so completely pissed off, apart from the whole religious angle that they had just kind of thrown at everybody all of a sudden?
I think that's actually a big part of it. The unexpected hurling of something completely out of the blue. Yeah,
it started incorporating celestial bullshit into it, and it just no.
If you go back to the original series, and I need to be fair, out of the Battlestar Galactica remake, I think I got through season 2. I never actually saw it all the way through, and it's not because I didn't like it. I got sidetracked into something else, and I just didn't have enough time to finish it. I really should go back and finish it.
Yes,
because I understand that it was excellent. So one of these days I'm going to go back through there, but I'm going to stop when they get to Earth. I am, because so many people have said that I'm going to go ahead and follow that.
You're
If
never
you
going
go
to finish
back,
watching it. You won't even watch Babylon 5.
I know I need to watch Babylon 5. I can't even say that, I understand that was great except for the last season. Is that true?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
If you go back to Battlestar Galactica, the original series, they had a pseudo-religious aspect to it as well, but they introduced it early on, maybe middle of the way through.
I don't even remember this.
It was more of an advanced alien species that they encountered a couple of times that they never really understood. It was like a godlike being.
I don't even remember that at all.
Do you remember the episode where they ended up with a crashed spaceship and their brown uniforms turned all white?
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. That's about all I remember from that episode.
I know, but that's a big visual thing. Yeah. That's the episode, and they had run into an alien or something that was just about the next best thing to God at that point, as I recall. So I don't remember exactly what happened. I can't tell you, but there were elements of it in the original series.
I had completely forgotten about that. Regardless, it turns into a situation where you've ticked everybody off because you've given them something that they weren't expecting at all, or that didn't make sense within what the universe was that you have shown them.
While it's your prerogative as a creator to do that, you're going to suffer. If you hand the majority of your fans something that they dislike, they will rightfully be pissed at you. Hi, that thing that Paul Cooley did in that last book, I demand he write it over.
Yeah, well, I demand you finish this series with destruction. I can't. I couldn't figure out how. If you can figure out how, let me know. Call me and let me know.
Dude, you haven't called me. I am full of ideas. I can give you a path forward.
There was no way to finish Derelict without another 2 books. No way. Impossible.
That's my advice. Write more books.
Yeah, write more books. There is that whole problem. And the thing is, if you're a creator, get used to it. The best case scenario, if you put yourself out there, is that you go get more kind comments than vitriolic ones. That's all I'm going to say. Terry is insulated from a lot of this shit.
I don't read reviews
because he doesn't engage with his audience either.
That is so untrue.
On the same level that I do,
I engage with my audience. I have a mailing list that has 3,300 people on it.
Yeah, I know.
They can email me anytime they like and tell me exactly where I went south.
Exactly. How many of them do?
I don't know that I've gotten a whole lot of notes about where I veered away from what they wanted or expected. I've gotten a couple, but I get many more positive ones than I get negative ones.
Yeah, really the negative ones are occasional tweets.
There's your mistake, Twitter. Get rid of Twitter.
Like I said, you interact with your audience very, very differently. You don't have to have the same social media presence I do because of the podcasts that I'm running and everything else. You have a completely different model than I do.
It's true. I'm more of an old style author that has his interaction at arm's length.
Yeah.
Although I'm on Facebook.
He's usually
anybody that cares to say something about me can tag me on Facebook. I'm there.
You're usually holding your cane in one hand, and that's how you keep them from prodding them along.
Sure.
Regardless, you kind of have to prepare yourself for the occasional UFO. You just kind of have to get ready for it because it will happen eventually. Somebody will give you a review that will make you cry, or make you feel like, why the fuck do I even bother with this?
As creators, what do we owe the fans?
Not a fucking thing.
You lying sack of shit. Totally untrue. We do owe them something. We owe them a good ride.
I owe them the best story that I can write and the best story I can come up with.
Yes.
I owe them to put the work in to make something that is enjoyable, is consistent, is going to give them the kind of story they expect from me, from what I write. That's what they expect, and those are the expectations, and they're damned hard to meet.
Robert Asprin wrote a ton of books, and some of them come to mind. One of them in specific was called Fool's Company, and he wrote 2 books in the series. It was a science fiction comedy. It was hilarious. It was great. Then they brought in another author to write the 3rd book, and he changed the personalities of the characters. It's like he didn't even bother reading the books. He got an outline of who the characters were, and he wrote them to suit himself. And a lot of the personality of them, I mean, serious bits of personality. One's a serious introvert, doesn't interact with anybody except over the communication links. That changed in that 3rd book. And that was just one of the things.
Yeah, that's bad.
That author did not do a good service to the fans or to Robert Asprin, because he didn't take the time to try to pick up the pieces where they were. He just tried to jot off something quick and hope it was good enough, and he failed. In a way, Game of Thrones did the same thing with the showrunners. They ran out of source material, and then they didn't do the best they could. They rushed the ending, and they told the story in their own way rather than trying to recreate the way that it was told with the source material. And that was a disservice to the fans as well.
Don't you think one of the reasons they rushed it is because of the Star Wars bullshit?
I think that it is. I think that they found out that they could have a job working for the mouse, and they said, yeah, fuck this, we're out of here. And then they just let it go.
They're going to pay us how much money? Oh yeah, fuck this shit. Winter's been coming for 7 seasons. Who cares?
According to George Martin, if they were going to tell the story with the seriousness that it deserved, rather than 2 shortened seasons for seasons 7 and 8, they would have had 5 full-length seasons.
Holy shit, that's terrifying.
So they chopped so much, they cut the storyline to the bone. And all of the things that led the characters to the places they were at the end of the story, all of it was excised. I won't say all of it. Most of it was excised. And that is a disservice to the fans. If you start a project, if it's going to take you 12, 13 years to finish it, if you've already invested 8, finish the goddamn project. Don't get 2/3 of the way through it and say, fuck it. We'll move to something else. They won't remember it in 3 years. They're not going to have the next Star Wars movie that these yahoos are doing until 2024, because it's going to take that long for the fans to forgive these fuckheads.
Wow. Tell me how you really feel, dude.
Considering that I'm not even I didn't even watch any of Game of Thrones. Not really at all. I feel strongly about this. I feel angry when I think somebody fucked their fans over. That pisses me off. And I think these 2 yahoos fucked their fans over.
Okay, I can see this. It's just phoning in, right? Joseph Heller phoned in the last book on one of his contracts. I mean, I think the story I got was that he had pissed away all the advance. There was no way he could cover it. He hadn't written. I don't know what he was doing during that time, but supposedly he wrote a piece of shit and handed it in. And they, he wrote it in like 72 hours or some goddamn thing, handed it in. And I don't know that they ever even published it. But he met the contract. He delivered. But it didn't go over.
Plenty of people out there will disagree with my sentiments.
Probably.
And that's fine.
I don't want the fans shit.
That's what the showrunners basically said. If I interpret their actions rather than words, I'm going to put words in their mouth and say that's what they said.
I'm not going to even try and guess why that happened. And of course, because I don't watch the show and haven't watched the show for 4 seasons or whatever, 3 or 4, something like that. I have no way to talk about anything that's been going on since new writers took over. But I think it deserves to be said that no matter what these folks did, there was going to be some group of rabid fandom that was going to be pissed. It's just when everybody's pissed, everybody's pissed. I think you jumped the shark pretty bad.
Whenever you're doing something, you can be pretty well guaranteed that anything you choose to do is going to piss off a slice of your readership, because you can't please everybody. Even though after 10 books in the series, I think I may have driven off the ones that were easy to drive off.
Yeah, by that time, you've got the people who are who love your imagination are just going to follow you around.
Unless I do something egregious.
Unless you do something egregious.
Thus far, I haven't done anything
You
egregious.
tried. You tried real hard.
Oh, it's not true. You're just mad because I cut your legs off. One of your fans that was reading my books went ahead and sent me a message saying, "You cut his legs off."
Yeah, I saw that.
I'm such a bastard.
I haven't responded to her and reminded her that the horrible things I did to you in Outbreak.
So. Yeah, well, there's always that. what were we talking about? Oh, when you get to the point to where, like you said, that the swath of fans that you've torqued off by how you did it become the majority as opposed to just a sliver, you fucked up.
Yeah. And how do you fix it? You really can't.
You go on to Star Wars and say, fuck those guys. That's what they do.
There are going to be some people who are going to be torqued off. Well, I know there are people who are torqued off that Derelict isn't done and that didn't end with destruction. And there are going to be some people who are probably really ticked off when they get to the end of the books. But I'm sorry, this is the way it works in my brain, and this is where we're going. You may not like the destination, but it is the destination. And when I get to that point, I'll just have to fucking deal with it. There are probably going to be some people who are really pissed with what I did in Evolution. And we'll see.
If Scott Sigler can have mutant cows, you're going to be fine.
No, it's not even that. It's the nature. I guess it's the nature of the story. For instance, if I only write bottle stories where you got the characters in a pressure cooker, and then suddenly I write a story where it's out of a pressure cooker, if people are wanting a pressure cooker story, they're going to feel a little bit lost. You know, when does everybody get trapped, and when does the killing start? And if that doesn't happen, that expectation is just dropped, and some people are going to be like, "Oh, screw this. I'm not reading."
Nothing that you ever do is going to be free of people not putting down your book and walking off.
Yeah.
You just hope that you attract more people than screw this guy. I can go ahead and read Clive Cussler.
I mean, I've got half a mind when I get the rights back to Derelict to just remove the military sci-fi portion of it. Just go ahead and remove it. Because there's such a different expectation of what those books are.
There is.
And I don't write it.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, so there's something I have to cut out.
I think you need to bleep a few of those words. Put the quacker in there, man.
Seriously though, that's the kind of bullshit that comes along with it.
You are not the only one to have received that.
Oh shit, no. I know I'm not. I know I'm not the first dude to put something up there and have people freak the fuck out.
Those folks that read military science fiction, I put a secondary, the third layer character that had a man married to a man, and I was told that I was promoting the gay agenda.
Yes, promoting the gay agenda. How dare you promote the gay agenda?
I was like,
"What is the gay agenda?
Can you forward me the agenda? Because I don't know that I'm completely familiar with it."
I missed that. I missed that.
So yeah, anytime you write military science fiction, when you violate their narrow expectations of what's acceptable, and I'm not saying that military science fiction people are narrow-minded, but you're going to find a section of the audience that is. And it's just any audience that you're looking at. Nothing you do is going to be perfect for everybody. And you're going to offend someone.
The problem is the rabid fans will go out of the way to let you know. Rabid fans of the genre will go out of their way to let you know.
And they'll go ahead and 1-star you on Amazon and leave a scathing review that they probably should have run a spell checker over.
Oh, invariably. Or they'll tweet you to death.
Punctuation, goddammit. Punctuation.
Punctuation is important.
Have you seen those reviews where they just fail to put any punctuation and they're all capitalized?
Yes. And then they talk about how stupid the author is. So what I understand is if that was speech to text, or if it was a frustrated 12-year-old.
12-year-olds is what 12-year-olds do.
Yeah, 12-year-old. Yeah, go back to the Xbox, kid. Talk to me when you learn how to write a sentence. Or read one for that
Or
matter.
just repost their 1-star and go through it and grammar it.
I've seen some authors do that, actually, reply to a review with a grammatically correct version. There is no better way to troll a troll. Holy shit.
I'm sure that hair catches on fire and the universe comes to an end when that happens.
Yeah, somebody rage quits Amazon. You're getting a little salty. There are expectations that the fans or the readers, whatever you want to call them, if they follow you through enough books or one series, they're going to have. And if you don't meet them, you'll hear about it. It's basically the way it is. And fans get entitled because they've spent money on your stuff. I understand that. I get it. I invested, so many hours, 300 hours in Terry Mixon's Empire of Bones universe just to be told it was a fucking video game the whole time. Fuck you, Mixon.
Spoiler alert. No, it's not a video game.
It's Terry's version of Ready Player One.
That's my fan fiction that I write for my own stuff.
Yeah, right. Exactly. If you do that, then yes, they kind of have a right to be pissed.
If somebody suggested I should write lit RPG set in the Empire of Bones universe, and I nodded my head and said, yeah, sure, I can see that. Am I going to do it? No. I am not going to do it.
No. Why don't you turn the black into a romance? No. It could be King Kong in the Black. No. Terry will write that in his imagination. Actually, he'll just talk about it and then leave it stuck in my brain. That's how that works.
Oh, I don't even have to do that. Some of the listeners are going to go ahead and write slash fiction on that already.
Oh my God. The Black meets King Kong. Yeah, I got nothing. I just got nothing. Absolutely nothing.
I saw J.R. Murdoch was talking about doing slash fiction with us. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he's got in mind.
Yeah, like there's a bed that could hold that action.
He's going to have a live reenactment at Balticon.
Oh, dear God, let's hope not. Let's hope not. Let's absolutely hope not. Well, Terry, do you feel entitled now?
I felt entitled before all this.
Do you feel like you own this show?
I don't feel like I own the show. I feel like the fans own the show.
The fan? Oh, God, don't tell them that.
They don't control the show, but they own it.
Interesting concept. Why don't you get us out of here?
Absolutely. If you have an opinion on Game of Thrones that comes in at less than 300,000 words, go ahead and send us an email at show@deadrobotsociety.com. You can find Paul on Twitter at Paul_E_Cooley, where you can troll him with various Game of Thrones memes that has his face pasted onto them.
Why do you do this to me?
Because it's fun. You can find us on Facebook at the Listeners of the Dead Robot Society Facebook group. If you want to go ahead and watch us and see our ugly mugs, you can go to youtube.com patreon.com/DRS podcast. You can thank the good folks at podhoster.com for hosting the audio so that we can damage your hearing with our pretty little voices. And if you would like to help support the show, you can go to patreon.com/DRS podcast, where for as little as $1 a month, you can support us and get extra cool content, such as the $10 subscribers get and getting their names read at the end of our shows.
And our $10 patrons this week are Andrew Smallwood, JD Barker, Jesse. I scrapped it at 26,000 words FML or cut. Dude, okay. Go back and listen to the last, 20 shows, and we'll talk about, how much has been scrapped.
I mean, seriously, dude, cutting 26,000 words is nothing. That's what Paul does every single book.
Veronica Jaguar, Jack F. Erickson. Kelson, have you ever wondered who the person to be called crazy was? That's a really interesting question.
I think that may be a trick question.
It may be. Isabel Cushy. Rick, where have all the words gone? Shaw? They're underneath your fingers. You just type the next one. Lisa Slack, Nathan Cosby, Cheryl Winters, Tracy Bodine, Devin Lee, Drew Need an Arc, I Know a Guy, Barnardi. Oh, that's awful. That was awful. I expect better. Not that I'm going to get it. Chris Winder, Andre Conde Murrez, DJ Chamberlain, and J.R. Handley.
Thanks for your support, folks, because you help make this show possible.
Yes,
thank you very much.
Thank you as always.
And with that, bye, folks.
Goodbye.
See you next week. Actually, we'll be a little late next week because Balticon.
Yeah, somebody's not coming back till Tuesday, so we have to record later. So,
actually, this episode may come out next week, so that warning may be already too late.
Oh, that warning is too late. Yeah, they're watching this show for what? Yeah, it's the patrons that are going to get it late.
The patrons can get it late, but everybody else, oh well. Oopsie doopsie.
Yeah, you're getting this week's episode next week.
Time travel's a bitch.
Oh my god! If you try and keep this show straight, it is so difficult sometimes. It's just ridiculous. Anyway,
bye, folks.
Bye.